Good morning, Adam. How are you doing today?
And good morning, Ara. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. You know, we're talking about the weather and things. I mean, I can't imagine what kind of conditions that you have gone through and how you have to physically and mentally prepare yourself for those conditions.
Well, at least, I spent some time in North Carolina, so I do love the weather in North Carolina.
Yes.
I did a lot of conditioning while I was in North Carolina to prepare myself for this election to be part of that unit. So carrying a rucksack and walking up and down the streets in Fayetteville and on Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty now. So I put a lot of miles there. So I do appreciate North Carolina.
Oh my God, you're speaking my street. I know exactly where you were. I mean, that's amazing that you've been that close to me, and this is the first time we're shaking hands.
Yes, absolutely. I do agree with you. I'm not sure if we're ever going to shake hands physically, but at least virtually, yes.
Listeners need to know that your voice has been altered. And the reason why is because you're still doing what you do. And for you to be in this position, I mean, most of us don't ever get to see this side of someone so dedicated to their country until long after they've been, out.
So I am not doing anything. So let's make this very clear.
Okay.
For whatever reason, for security reasons. So I'm one of the reasons the no face and voice is slightly altered is just to make sure that what we've done in the past does not come back and haunt us.
I love that.
For myself, for my family, just to protect the people who worked with me. Again, if people can connect me now with social media, you can connect everybody to everybody. It's like the 6 degree of separation. You can connect people together. So I wanted to make sure that the men and women who are still operating in the organization are safe, and me being out and talking is not impacting them in any way or shape. That's why their name is not real. All the names in the book are not real. Mm-hmm. Locations are not real. All of those things have been altered.
What is it like for you to be able to write like this? Because, I mean, I'm an author, and I know the different shape-shifting that I have to go through as that author. Is it same for you as well?
It wasn't easy at all because you have to. So I went and I got like standalone laptop, never been connected to the internet. So that's just from the physical security. And then you're writing things, and I have a great co-author who's never been in the unit, but she's been in the military. So I had to be careful to what to say to her, so I'm not breaking any classification or any classified information. And then you go back and forth, and then at the end we take the manuscript, double wrap it, put it in an envelope, sealed, walk to the Pentagon parking lot, hand it to somebody in the Pentagon parking lot. They took it and they reviewed it for a bit over 12 months, gave it back to us with some redactions, a lot of redactions actually in the beginning. I had a lawyer who helped me through the process, and the lawyer wanted to take this to court, and I was like, no, I want to just go sit with them. So the special operation community, security personnel, DoD security personnel accepted to sit with me. We sat for about 4 hours.
Wow.
We went over every page. We went over every picture we put in the book. Some pictures they took out. Some stuff they took out. Some stuff got rewritten. Some stuff got redacted. Some of the stories that we wanted to tell, I do apologize to some of the readers. I wanted to tell more stories. Some of the stuff was just totally unrealistic to put there, and we wanted to protect the mission and the people who are still doing the mission.
But you know what, though, Adam, is the fact that, being an author, somehow, some way, you will creatively come up with a way to share that story without really saying that story. And I call that hidden speak, that authors have this way of bringing something out and people go, wow. And it's not even what really took place, but they still go, wow.
Absolutely, and I did get a lot of this feedback. So I was, like I said, I used to go sit by myself and just keep writing and then tweak it to make sure the story comes out. So it's a very fine line between telling the story and protecting national security, and telling a story that current unit members, former unit members can be proud of. People who were involved with me in missions can be proud of. They know who they are. Although their names is not the real name in the book, but they know who they are. And then change of the location and the change of, we still have to hide sources and methods for just that, to protect our intelligence community. So there is a lot of changes, but you're absolutely right. That you can end up coming up with the story, that you get the story there without revealing the actual sensitive information.
Listeners need to understand that who you are as a person, even though you've got so many different identities, but they have to know what your heart is. And that is, you serve this nation because of the freedoms that you craved in your life. I love where your heart has always been.
So a lot of people take it for granted. And one of the names, actually, we were talking about following the book, Payback. So it's like paying back the debt that you owe the country. One of the reasons I wrote the book too, I wanted to write to the immigrant community, especially the Arab American immigrant community. A lot of them staying away from joining the military for whatever reason. But I wanted to tell everybody, like, you made this country your home. You should protect it. You should serve it, and you would be extremely proud. And then the military gave me opportunities I could have never dreamed about. I was a guy working in gas stations and delivering cake and cookies from Delhi, and at 2-3 o'clock in the morning to pay for my college. And 7-8 years after, I'm working in the FBI office in New York that I used to walk by every day going to school. Now I have this, and people from the community will tell you what a blue badge means. So blue badge, it means like you have a top secret clearance, you can walk anywhere.
Wow.
So here I am working as a military guy, helping the FBI to translate the Al-Qaeda manual that was taken from a terrorist site in the UK.
Wow. You've been described as being a ghost. Does that mean that you can move around like a true spirit guide and get into areas that's like, and you have that confidence and that courage to just go and be like a ghost? You can go anywhere.
I would love to be a total ghost, but it's not. But I am. I'm extremely lucky, extremely fortunate. Between my upbringing, my being street smart, my training in the military, I can walk to any bar, church, mosque, synagogue. I can walk to. I've walked to presidential palaces and shook presidents' hands, and he thought I belonged. I was in a mission, and we were sitting with the head of the intelligence of another country, and he keeps looking at me, and he tells his team, like, is this guy one of us or one of them?
Mm-hmm.
I made the guy feel extremely comfortable that he thought I was one of them. And his team kept telling him, no, he's an American. And he looks at me, he's like, you don't look American. And I was like, well, Americans come in all sizes and shapes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The book we're talking about is The Unit. Looking at this cover, it looks like something my father would just totally take in. My father was a sergeant in World War II, and he always said, read these stories, listen to those stories, and experience something in your life that has a purpose and a plan. And it seems like that you have really served not only this nation, but yourself.
Absolutely. The military helped me to serve myself and serve my family. The GI Bill, which a lot of people talk about it, not a lot of people know the value of it, but during the Bush administration, the GI Bill went from Montgomery GI Bill to post 9/11 GI Bill, and the post 9/11 GI Bill can be transferred to your family members. Wow. I have my older daughter is graduating college from Boston. I'm not going to say the school. She's graduating this May. She's the post 9/11 GI Bill paid for about 75% of her education. My younger daughter, I gave her the other half, so she should be going to college. Wow. Courtesy of the post 9/11 GI Bill as well. So, like I said, the military not just allowed me to serve, but gave me an opportunity of a lifetime for me and my family.
Life is filled with a lot of circles, and one of the things that you dealt with was going to Africa. That's almost like a full circle moment when you were, put in a position where you had to take on the Muslim Brotherhood that terrorized your community.
Absolutely, and it was fulfilling. It's you grew up being people trying to manipulate you. Mm-hmm. The government in Egypt at that time, for a variety of different political reasons, which I did mention in the book. They actually allowed the Muslim Brotherhood to operate more freely than they should have allowed them. That came back and bit them in the ass later on. That was the reason the president of Egypt at that time, Sadat, got assassinated by them. So going forward, and I went to against them in an election for the student body, and I won. And then they beat the fuck out of me. They almost broke my ribs.
Oh.
So going full circle and being operating in Africa and in other locations, not just in Africa. I mean, I was all over the Middle East as well. Either not going against them directly, but going against the branches that came out of them. So if anybody really studies the Muslim Brotherhood and their ideologies and political Islam and how they did what they did, you're gonna find that Al-Qaeda came from them. Well, the Islamic Jihad was a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. Then after the Al-Qaeda, then after Al-Qaeda was Al-Nusra Front, and then after Al-Nusra Front was ISIS. It just keeps going extreme after extreme after extreme, and we don't know what's next.
I don't know how you prepare your heart or the way that you think in a situation like this. Is it because you're so programmed into basically just getting in there and getting the job done? Because in combat karate, my sensei would always tell me, he would go, just get in there. Someone's going to the hospital, and it better not be you. And that was the type of thinking that he had.
So you do a lot of training, and you do a lot of life real life training exercises in the U.S. And those training exercises, they get you very well conditioned and prepared. Mm-hmm. However, it's like going to college. When you go to college, you study as much as you study, but when you go to the real world, it's different. So you follow the people who came before you, and obviously when you deploy your first few deployments, you go in with people who are senior to you. I was very lucky. I went with some of the most senior guys who were in the organization at that time, and they took me under their wing. And then after that, it becomes a second nature. It becomes you become the guy who's training the guys who are coming after you, and just it becomes very natural. You do small things to make sure that your mind switches on when you are in those missions. I used to move my wallet from my right back pocket to my left back pocket. And when I do that, whenever I sit, you feel there's something weird. Yep. That reminds me I'm in a mission now, and I'm not me anymore.
Oh, see, I like playing head games like that, because that's exactly what it's like. Because, I mean, in the everyday world, we all have different personality changes, but you have a life change, and you've got to be able to signal your true self.
Correct. And when you gotta look. It's I don't want to. I don't know. I just have to be careful with what I say.
Yes.
So I'm not breaking sources and methods. But when you are deploying, you are a different person in every meaning of the word.
Wow.
So you have to mentally, physically prepare yourself for that, and you gotta fly. And when you're flying, most likely you're gonna find this. My first deployment, I have this nice older American lady who was flying sitting next to me, and you gotta love older ladies. They love to talk.
Yep.
That lady asked me every question on the face of the earth. Where are you going? What you gonna do? What's your name? What's your family? Are you married? Are you not married? All of these things. So you're like them, but you live and you gotta live. You cannot just be the guy who's telling her, well, let me tell you, I'm in the military and I'm going to do. So you have to. So it was it's a good training and good practice.
How do you deal with situations where, how we are in this country, we hear the name Bosnia, and we all have this idea of what we think what really takes place in that country, especially when it comes to conspiracy. We've all got it wrong, but you've been there, and you really can't talk about it, can you?
So you cannot talk in details about certain missions or anything, but what people really need to know, like what you see on TV is just a percentage of what's really there, right? So when I was in the Ukraine before, it's different than what people see on TV. I was in Iraq, and there was some reporting about things that were going on, and it's not like the media is not lying. I mean, just the media see what the media sees. So the media is like, it's like you go to a house and you go to a room, but you don't see what's in the other room. So the media is reporting what's in the room they are in. That's the truth. They are telling the truth. But the other rooms, they don't know what's there either. So we were lucky enough to be in those other rooms, so we can see what's in the other rooms. But it doesn't mean there is like somebody's trying to hide the truth. You report what you see.
Wow. Did you feel that way when being the author of this book, that you had to paint that room, you had to describe that situation, and you almost had to put on a pair of journalist shoes?
Yes, I try, and I try to make sure that I'm being as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
But with given the sensitivity of the topic itself, I had to change things, and I'm like, the people who were there with me, they know why I changed this way, or why I said this way. But obviously, I mean, you're not gonna please every reader and every listener. Some people gonna still not be very happy, and that's part of life. But I like to believe I did my best to make sure that I balance between telling a good story, telling a very noble story, inspiring people, hopefully, telling people like, I'm a 5'1" guy who immigrated from Egypt with $500 borrowed from my sister, non-English speaking, and within 4 years after that, I was in the military. Like I said, 5-6 years after that, I'm in one of the best military units. I'm in the FBI. I'm working with a lot of the other three-letter agencies. I'm in the top of my game, and I retired with honor from the military. So telling people that story, and then still balancing to not break national security interests, to not basically just to protect the national security interest and the classification and all of this information that people don't need to know yet.
Wow. Adam, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. I love your story. I love the way that you're taking your experiences and putting it in writing. This, to me, is what life is all about and why we're here. We're to be teachers. We're also supposed to experience it, and we're also supposed to be someone who explores. And you've done it all, sir.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Please come back anytime. The door is always going to be open for you.
Absolutely. I do appreciate that.
Be brilliant today, okay?
Yeah, you too.